So let's get started. Thank you everybody for being here tonight. It's a rainy, it's still raining right now, but a rainy, busy Wednesday for all of us. And we're just really appreciative that you would take the time to come out and hear more about this wonderful park and the work we intend to do there. Before we get started, just want to let you know if you need the restroom, there's a restroom out by the welcome table where you signed in when you walked in. Feel free to use that at any time. Again, we do have a lot of snacks over there, and we can't eat them all ourselves, so please help us do that. We also have coffee, tea, even some decaf coffee because it's that time of day. So feel free to join or take part in that at any time during the meeting. If you are attending online, just to let you know that we're not able to hear your voice in the room, but if you have any comments or questions that you'd like to make, you can type those into the chat box, and we will read those during the Q&A session a little bit later on in the meeting. All right, so I'm going to run through the agenda for the evening. I'm going to walk us through some quick introductions. I'll talk a little bit about park information, just some background and history on the park. I'll talk a little bit about the project and why we're here today, and take a look at the public engagement that we've undertaken for the project so far. And then Julie with PBS will be here, or is here, and she's going to talk to you about plan development, site improvements, and then talk about our master plan update. And then I'll come back and talk more about next steps, and I'll help moderate a Q&A session where you'll be able to ask your questions if we didn't answer them during the presentation. So my name is Lindy Wallach. I'm the Park and Trails Planner assigned to this project. You might know me from Minnehaha Neighborhood Park master plan that we've been working on, or Heritage Farm Sustainability Plan. I've been working on those projects and this one for the past couple of years. Haley Shannon is with us from our communications group with Public Works. She's going to be moderating the online portion of the meeting. Julie and Elisa from PBS are here with us. Julie is the landscape designer for the project with PBS, and Elisa is the project manager. And then our illustrious leader, Rocky Houston, is over with my kid at the children's table, and he's the Parks and Lands division manager. He'll be helping with the Q&A session a little bit later. All right, so I'd like to start at the very basics and talk a little bit about what exactly the type of park is that we're talking about, just so everybody starts off on the same playing field. Our park system, or we have a park recreation and open space plan that we put together on a 6-year annual update basis. And in that plan, it's like 1.5 inches thick or so. It talks about, or it presents a classification system for the different park types that we have within our system. And so it defines what is a regional park, what is a neighborhood park, what's a community park or a natural area. And in there, it describes that a community park is typically around 20 to 100 acres in size. Hazel Dell Park that we're here to talk about tonight is about 20 acres in size, and they serve an area of around 2 to 3 miles. And they a lot of times will include sports fields or skate parks, things like that, that bring more folks to the parks because they're larger in size than your average neighborhood park. And because they put folks together, typically we'll have restrooms there, which you wouldn't see in a neighborhood park. We might have shelters that are reservable. And we'll also have parking, which we typically don't see at our neighborhood parks unless we're hopefully in the future adding accessible parking to neighborhood parks. Some examples of other community parks that you might have seen are Hawkinson Meadows Community Park on the northeast side out by Brush Prairie in the Hawkinson area. And then a little closer to home here, we have Salida Community Park. And if you haven't visited either of those, I really suggest you do it. They've both got nice walking paths or trails. Hawkinson has a nice dog park area and a new disc golf course. So a little bit more about Hazel Dell Community Park. As I said, it's about a 20-acre size park. It's about 20 acres in size. It's located just east of Hazel Dell, east of that corridor along I-5. Its frontage is along Northeast 68th Street, and it's kind of centered between Highway 99 and St. John's Road. It shares a northern border with Heritage Farm, which is another county-owned, county-managed property. We manage that in partnership with WSU Extension Services. The park is one of the oldest parks one of the oldest parks or first parks created in Clark County. And it's actually registered with Heritage Farm on the National Register of Historic Places as part of the Clark County Port Farm. The main portion of the park that you see today is the treed area, the treed kind of square there. And then there's a flag lot that extends out west of the developed park along 68th Street. And that was added in 2015 through a boundary line adjustment that was made. Those 5 or 6 acres were originally north of the northern boundary of the treed area that you see on the developed portion of the park. And those were moved down to 68th Street, mostly to provide access to, or improved access to the historic cemetery that lies just north of there on the Heritage Farm property. So as I said, it's on the National Register of Historic Places. So this property has quite a bit of history with it. And if you'll indulge me a little bit, I find it a little bit interesting. But back in the 1800s, mid 1800s, the Anderson family, a very prominent family here in the Hazel Dell area, staked a land claim on about, I think it's 625 acres or so in the Hazel Dell area. They had their homestead, their cabin near where the Fred Meyer is today. They moved in and they cleared most of the land. They cleared most of the trees that were here, and they grew wheat for a period of time. And somewhere in the late 1800s, I think around 1870s, there was a dispute with over a sheriff's bond with the county, and the county ended up assuming ownership of the property. Because there was a policy that was enacted in the federal government where counties became responsible for creating port farms or places for people to come and reside who are unable to care for themselves. They set up a port farm on that property, and you can see the building up there that you see on Northeast 78th Street now was built in the 20s, but there was a series of buildings before that. And it operated as the port farm until the 1930s, 1940s, when social policy changed again and the Social Security Act was passed. Port farms started shutting down across the country. At that time, or around that time, Washington State College came onto the site and set up an experimental station where they would research different agricultural crops that could grow and be successful here in this area, kind of what WSU Extension Service is still doing today, which is a really great thing to see. So in 1949, Washington State College, or WSU, took over ownership of the Heritage Farm portion of the property. And at that time, 20 acres was designated as a future park, which is what we see today in Hazel Dell Park. So thanks for listening to me, because I love to talk about the history of the farm. And we found in 1975, the first master plan looked like it was created for the site. If you look at that master plan, it looks a lot like the park does today, with the 2 shelters, the restroom building, the 2 play areas, etc. And most of the time when we see master plans, they don't really line up with what was originally planned. So it's nice to see that. The main difference that you would see today is that there was a caretaker's house there at some point, and that was removed. And now we see there's an RV pad where we have a volunteer camp host who resides there year round and helps clean up and keep an eye on the place. In 2013, that's when the registration happened when the site was placed along with the farm onto the National Register of Historic Places and also some state registries. There's no buildings or structures at the park that contribute to that designation, that historic designation. It's more about the character of the site and the trees and how that relates to the history of the site. And then, as I said or explained earlier about the boundary line adjustment, that took place in 2015. All right, so now we'll talk about the project. So in 2023, Parks and Lands, on our capital improvement plan, we had a project to formalize the parking area at the park, and also to make accessible improvements to the trail system in the existing part of the park. We realized, or we thought about it, that we should really update the master plan in conjunction with that effort, because that master plan, as I said, was from 1975. We wanted to make sure that what we're doing is on track with what the community's current needs are. So we put together the master plan part of the project, or add the master plan to the project, and that's really focused on that 5 acres because that wasn't included in the 1975 master plan, and we had never sought input from the community on that. So in August to September of last year, PBS assisted us with a community survey. We put that out and we received feedback from that. And since then, not every moment, but since then we've been looking at that information that we got, and we've been working on developing a concept plan, which we've had presented today, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a few minutes, and then also working on the overall site layout of those improvements that I talked about. And so here we are today in March, and we're here presenting that to you because we're getting ready to move forward with the project. So in the last 2 years, Parks and Lands has been working to improve our efforts for public engagement. We've been trying to do our best to make intentional efforts to reach out to groups who traditionally have not been included in public processes in the past. We've done that a number of ways, but how we started that was working with our communications group, with our consultant, and with some community advisory groups to learn the names of some advocates or organizations that we could reach out to, and hopefully that they would help us draw more people into the process, to get more people participating in meetings like this, and also in the community survey and feedback that we get, so that we can bring more voices to the table. This is a list of the types of organizations that we reached out to. If you're interested in knowing who we actually reached out to, you can contact me, and I'm happy to share that with you. But we reached out to the neighborhood associations, the school districts, senior citizens groups, veterans groups, religious organizations, indigenous tribes, youth advocacy groups, and so on. And so that looked like emails to them, phone calls to them, trying to set up meetings, one-on-one meetings, to just kind of share the information about this and other projects that we have. So the survey that we had last year was open from August 16th to September 15th. We had it spread, or had it offered in 4 different languages, and we publicized it across the county to those groups that I talked about, to you. We had mailers, we had signage that came up that we put up within a 2 to 3 mile radius of the site. And then we received just under 400 responses to the survey. And in that survey, we had a list of 7 uses, or public, we call them programmatic elements, that we might see specifically in that undeveloped portion of the park. We selected the 7 elements because we felt that they were compatible with the existing use of the park, with the farm, and with the neighborhood, because we are really close to the neighborhood right across the street there. So it's a little bit different than some of our other parks where you might be a little bit more insulated. When you have a community park, it might be a little bit more distance there. So this is how the main question was ranking those 7 features, and you can see how they rank here, which number 1 was restroom, and interpretive trails, nature and theme play, which we see over and over again in our surveys and the feedback we receive. People are really interested in more trails, and they're interested in nature themed play. We also had educational garden, passive recreation, shelter, and outdoor classroom. And I also will comment and say that we had a lot of write-in votes. You guys really like to write in the survey, which is great. And most of those comments reinforced the 7 elements that we had proposed, but there were people who had suggested things like a disc golf park or disc golf course, where we felt that wasn't necessarily a compatible use with this park, and that's something that we're interested in, having more disc golf courses in other locations within our park system, but we didn't feel that it was a fit for this one. And then we had others where it was like skate parks and things like that, where we have another facility close by, and so we felt like it wasn't necessarily the best use for this specific site. Here are some comments that we received, just some examples of what was written, and I'm not going to read all of these to you, but I can say there were several people who were really supportive of more organized parking. As you know, it's kind of a free-for-all. There's no line parking, and it's a dirt lot. So we are fully supportive of a more organized parking. And then, of course, more trails, more accessible trails, less steep trails, so that people are able to walk them. It does get pretty steep towards the back of the park, or the north end of the park. And then one of the things I just want to talk about is multiple people wanted to make sure that we're not going to cut down any of the trees. And I just want to say, we're trying to fit our improvements around the trees that are there, because we like the trees and we want to see them stay, just like you do. We recognize what character they add to the site. However, we can't keep every single tree, but we're only going to take out the trees that we really have to. And so there will be some that need to come out with the formalization of the parking area and also with the trail realignment, so we can make it more accessible. And there will be replanting efforts involved in that. And I know it's probably more shocking now that 68th Street, the sidewalk project has progressed and you're seeing all those trees down. And I feel like it's not going to be like that for you when we're making these improvements. So just want to share that. And so now Julie is going to take over and talk about the site improvements and the master plan.
Thank you, Lindy. So I'm Julie Hepler. I am with PBS as a landscape designer, and we've been working with the county to help develop this master plan concept that we're looking at today. I've had the opportunity to interact with some of you around the boards, but I'm getting the opportunity to kind of walk you through the process of what got us to this current concept. So the starting point is to kind of take an inventory of the existing conditions, and that's what's there, what's the current character of the park, what are the existing site features and amenities. And so for Hazel, we have the property is currently fenced in. As you know, there's a very mature tree canopy of evergreen and deciduous trees. There's lots of open lawn space of kind of passive recreation use, and there's a combination of both paved and unpaved trails. There's also 2 existing park shelters. One is closer to the existing parking lot, and one is up towards the north playground site. There's existing restrooms as well as picnic table areas, and currently there is 1 single entrance coming off of 68th Street. The next step is site analysis, and this is kind of taking what is on the existing site and thinking about what it means and how is it going to inform our design. And so currently the trails do not meet recreational compliance for accessibility. The park entrance does not meet Clark County standards. It also doesn't have formalized pedestrian access from 68th Street into the park. And the parking lot lacks dedicated ADA parking as well as stall striping. The existing shelters and restrooms are in need of repairs. The slopes up towards the north of the existing park are very steep, and there are views up at the top. The existing gravel parking lot would provide a subgrade for a new parking lot, and there's a lot of opportunity in the 5 acres of the west parcel. So then with this, the site inventory and analysis, we then kind of move into what we're proposing to improve in the existing park, and that's the first part of this master plan concept. The entrance from 68th Street would be improved up to Clark County standards, as well as providing a pedestrian connection from those 68th Street improvements into the park. The parking lot would feature 28 parking stalls, 6 of them being designated ADA parking. There'd be improved ADA access from the parking lot up to the existing shelters and restroom, as well as improved access into to the playground. So then the next part of the master plan concept is thinking about that undeveloped 5-acre parcel next door. And this is where the survey results that Lindy just discussed kind of come into play. So we took some of those desired programmatic elements and created an inspiration board of these photos. And it's meant to be interpreted as just that. It's kind of inspirational images and not meant to be taken literally, or these are the exact features that would be implemented into the master plan, but just to kind of give an essence of what it could potentially be. So for example, the nature themed play could be the use of natural materials like logs and boulders, or the colors or textures of nature within traditional playground equipment. The passive recreation use could be interpretive nodes or seating nodes, or the use of educational or interpretive signage. And the planting could use native or pollinator planting, as well as using the topography to the advantage. So we'll take a look at the master plan in the holistic view and how it relates to the proposed site improvements of the existing park, and then then we'll take a closer look at what's going on in the west there. So you can see that the parking lot from the proposed site improvements would expand into a 5-acre parcel. This would be a two-way lane, so there'd be an entrance and exit on both sides. And some of the programmatic elements that we'll take a look at would include interpretive and seating nodes, nature-themed play, pollinator and native habitat, the use of rustic materials, a picnic shelter, and educational and native gardens. So zooming in a little bit, we can kind of take a closer look at what's going on down here. And so the expanded parking would have a total of over 80 stalls, with 10 of them being designated ADA parking. And then there would be 3 main programmatic nodes with it containing the elements that Lindy discussed from the survey results. These would be connected by a series of paths, and these would be 12 feet wide or 8 feet wide and would support multimodal use. So if you want to bike or if you want to walk, or those with mobility devices could also use it because they would be ADA accessible. And then to take a closer look at what's happening within each of these programmatic nodes, we can start on the far west, or the green one. And so this kind of proposes an open lawn space, which would kind of have some unprogrammed use. So you could go out there, play Frisbee or have a picnic. And so there'd be a lot of passive recreation use within that space. Additionally, there would be a proposed relocated historic building, or a building made to look historic that would act as a trailhead for future connections up to the Heritage Farm in the north. It could also act as a meeting site for tours. Moving towards the center node, there's some restrooms and an additional picnic shelter along the way, and opportunities for picnic tables and seating and footpaths to kind of provide more opportunities for some passive recreation. That center node would be the nature-themed play, and so this would include all ages and abilities. And again, this would use senses, textures, colors to emulate nature, as well as natural materials like logs and boulders. Moving even further east, then between the nature play node and the next node, there would be opportunities for educational gardens and pollinator gardens, as well as more seating nodes and footpaths connecting them. And the final node on the far east would be an outdoor classroom, and this would engage a formal meeting space for larger groups, for field trips or other educational events. And we purposefully integrated this into the existing park and tied into the existing paths to ensure that this master plan concept is kind of one whole park in the end. So I'm gonna pass it back over to Lindy to discuss next steps.
Thank you, Julie. All right, so next steps. I've divided this into 2 different categories because we're really kind of somewhat on 2 different tracks. One is the master plan update, and the other are those public access improvements. Right now, we've opened a comment period that'll go through April 30th, and that's your chance to respond to the master plan and your thoughts on that. We'll be reading those as they come in, and after the 30th, we'll make some final decisions, see if there's any final minor tweaking that needs to happen to our master plan concept. So we'll finalize that concept, and then we'll write a master plan document and start moving through a public process to seek adoption of that. That process is going to involve the Historic Preservation Commission, because as I said, it's a listed site on the historic and state and local registries. And then we will also be meeting with the Park Advisory Board and then seek adoption through the Clark County Council. For public access improvements, we're finalizing our site plan right now. Any comments we receive on that might result in some minor changes to what that looks like. But we will finalize that site plan this spring, and then for the rest of the year, we're going to be working on the actual full design of that project and also the permitting of it. And so we do hope to start construction of that in 2025. So as I said, there was a comment period that opened a day or 2 ago when we posted our documents online. We're going to leave that open through April 30th. There's several ways that you can comment on that. You can raise your hand here when we start the Q&A session, and we'll chat with you then. If that's not your jam, you can fill out a comment card. There's orange cards that are over on the table over there, bright orange cards. You can handwrite feverishly what your thoughts are, and we'll read those. Or if you'd like, you can just email us your comment or your question to pwparksprojects@clark.wa.gov. And if you don't want to write that down, just grab one of those comment cards because the email address is on there as well. And you can still write to us in the comfort of your own car or home. Okay, so we're going to get started with our Q&A session. I had a couple of thoughts. One, we only have 2 microphones, so I'm going to ask our illustrious leader, Rocky, to come up here, and Elisa and Julie are going to be here if we have more technical questions about the drawings. Since we only have the 2 microphones, I'm going to be bringing the other microphone around to you, and you'll have about 60 seconds to ask your question. I'm going to time you on my watch, and I'm going to hold you to that time. I'm going to be very good about it, but and then what was I going to say? Oh, if you could keep your questions, your comments to just one at a time. That will allow us to cycle through anybody who has a question, and then after that's complete, and then we can come back and you can ask a follow-up or a second question. But we want to give everybody a chance to participate. If you're online, you're not able to speak into the room, but you can type in your question or your comment into the chat box in WebEx, and Haley will gladly read it to us in the room, and we'll do our best to answer the question. You may be having questions about the 68th Street Sidewalk project, and I'm going to tell you neither one of us work for transportation. And we did get a brief little update on the process that's happening now. So we'll try to answer your questions if that's what your interest is, but that's not necessarily our department. So we're going to get started. Oh, and before I get even further ahead of myself, we did have some special guests. I always forget to mention folks, so I apologize. Teresa and Paolo are here from our Parks Advisory Board. This is doing great work for the county with volunteers. And Isla Westergaard is coming over from the snack table, getting her 4th water bottle. She's from the West Hazeldale Neighborhood Association, and she's sitting with Bill Klein from the Northeast Hazeldale Neighborhood Association. So I'm sure they're always looking for more participants in that. If you want to hit them up, they're right there in that center table. All right, so who's going to go first? Oh, if you could say your name. Oh, that was my name.
My name's Kiki Stevens, and I'm a little bit confused. It's site improvements and then the parking lot, can't find my words, the parking lot ends. But then on the master plan update concept, it continues on. I'm confused about that.
Sure. So I should explain this a little bit more. Our CIP, our capital improvement plan for 2023 included a project to make those site improvements, the public access improvements, which is the parking lot, and then the adjustments to the trail system within the developed portion of the park. We're also updating the master plan on a separate kind of trajectory. And so there's no funding in place for that portion of the park yet. And so once there is funding in place, then we would pursue that possibly in a future capital improvement plan.
Another way to think of it is phases.
Yes.
We're showing you phase 1 and then future phases, but trying to plan for all of it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Allie. Something that I've noticed, I live like a 15-minute walk from the park. Are there any steps going to be taken to prevent like day camping in the parking lot? That is something that I've seen. No? Oh, yeah, sorry. Are any steps going to be taken to prevent that in the future?
So, hi, I'm Rocky. Difficult question to answer. So yes, however, we have a lot of partnerships. You're part of that partnership. So as you see things that appear to be prolonged use that's not recreational, you need to give us a call, or 311 to law enforcement. They actually have the capacity to engage. There is a lot of legal cases right now that makes it difficult for the sheriff's office to engage how they did 5 or 10 years ago. So I think what I find, and this is my philosophy, is that people who are unhoused want privacy and access to resources and all the things that I want, and you want to living as well. And so the more people we have at the park utilizing it in its intended use, typically does move those other non-recreational uses away from the site. Not always, but so yes, but it's not a rapid response. It's always a process we have to do to engage. The law states now, or it's not the law, a legal case states that if we ask someone to move from public property, we have to have a place to put them. So a shelter and other things. A lot of times people they don't want to be in a shelter. And as such, that creates some conflict to do that work.
Anybody else?
Yeah, my name's Mike. My question is, if the improvements are planning to start in probably summer of 2025, how long do you expect the process to take to complete this phase of development? Or are you doing it in two phases?
So the site improvements, I believe, are estimated to take 4 to 6 months or so for construction. And then the future development of the park, we don't have that set in stone, and we would have to make it through a design process really to, I don't mean set in stone. We don't have it in our capital improvement plan. And so when we get there and we get through the design process, then we would know how long it would take to put that in.
Yeah. breaking the
No,
rule.
well, going back to the question about the parking lot, does that mean you're gonna build a parking lot and then tear it down a year later?
No, it'll be designed to be added to. So what that means is sometimes you've been in those developments where it looks like it's not done. You know, or there's that big red sign at the end of a street, and you're like, is it gonna go through, is it not? So it may have that, you know, your bands need to grow out phase before we get on to the next section.
Anybody else? Oh, you didn't say your name.
He said,
I got a lady over there who needs.
My name's Mike Sand.
My name's Sharon Knossi. I just wanted a little more explanation about the walking path in the Hazel Park, so the current thing that's gonna be just safety wise, you know, because parking and cars. Is it gonna be almost like a sidewalk with a curb to be able to go on to the crossing path that we will be able to push a button and cross onto the walking path on the south side of 68th Street?
that sounds like a road project question, but Lindy's
So,
probably has an
so
answer.
there's gonna be a spotlight, not a spotlight, there's gonna be a light.
Well, we can sing and dance.
A street light, that's what it's called. There's gonna be a street light at that crosswalk, but there's not gonna be an RFB, I don't remember what that stands for, beacon
A hawk
something.
light or beacon light repeater
Beacon light.
that you push and goes.
Right. In that project, I think there's like 4 crosswalks across 68th Street, and only one of those has an RFB on it, and I think that's near 17th or 14th Avenue, I'm not certain.
But Lindy, once they go across and they enter into our glorious property,
Okay.
there's gonna be a dedicated pathway
Correct.
that would be separate from the road that would get you, and then you may have to do a little froggering to get over to where all the other stuff is.
Cars, that's what my concern is, because you got cars, the walking path.
So
for those
it'll be
online.
adjacent to the driveway, and then it'll be adjacent to the drive
Yeah.
aisle, yes.
Really need to be careful on it. I walked it many times. But we almost hit a lot. So
Hopefully, when that's narrowed down and formalized, it aids in all of that safety and concern that we have.
And for those online, she's communicating the concerns and safety issues of currently utilizing the current park, and in the future, making sure that there's a safety issue addressed.
Anybody else? All right, Sharon, you gotta wait. Somebody else is gonna hold their hand up. You sure? No? Okay. Oh, we got some in the back. I'll come back to you, Sharon. All 3 of you, or just? Who's going first? Did you get nominated?
Hello, everyone. I'm Salvia Zakut, and my question is going to be a security on the site?
Is that security?
Security on site?
We don't have security at any of our parks. So we don't plan on changing anything that, so we're not gonna have a rent-a-cop or any other sort of security stuff. Is that what you're referring to, like a security officer? So we do have a host on site, and she said that they're gonna close the gate. And so as long as we have a host there, that is one of the duties to open and close the gate. However, most of our parks, we do not open and close gates. We do have operational hours, which is, do you know? 7 a.m. until dusk. And what's dusk mean? I'm just pointing out people haven't talked yet. Dusk is 1 hour after the sun sets. You now. But yeah, so it is. And so if you do see people in there after hours, please call 311. We may not get a police response, but all that data does help us in regards to identifying the concerns of the property that we have. Did that answer your question, ma'am? Thank you.
All right, who's next? We're going.
The gentleman in the hat raised his hand. Did he take this question away?
Oh, I think they,
Oh, all the same.
okay, so I think we're back to Sharon then.
I'm gonna milk every question out of you guys.
It's more about the future, possibly parking lot on the 5 acres. Where are you envisioning the second? So I know the primary entrance is where the Hazel Park is now. So we live in, a lot of people here live in Hazel Carriage House Estates. And so what street is it? So I think we're 19th Avenue, right, Mike? Yeah. So where,
Yeah, it's that one. You know, the one right there that you turn on, you know, that one.
where?
That one. Yeah, that one. The one with the trees out front. It's not really a hill, but it feels like a hill. You know, that one. Is it 20th? I think consensus is that's 20th Street. Or is that Avenue? Avenue. You almost got me. I'm already hard enough doing that. So yeah, so we will keep the current entrance where it is, and where roughly it says outdoor classroom area is probably where that cutoff would be for that phase 1-ish. Depending upon the price of pavement and concrete and things on that week. And then we would circle it around and have a one-way grid when it's fully implemented,
All
I
right,
believe.
now I think it's two-way.
I meant to say two-way.
Anybody else? Oh, Haley isn't on.
Hi. We heard about bikes and other mobile devices being used on the paved trails. I am curious if skateboarding will be allowed.
We will follow the county ordinance, and I don't have that off the top of my head right now in regards to that utilization. I'm human, I'm sorry. We can get back to you later online with our response to that question. Thank you.
We'll make sure we have a response to that in our meeting minutes. So when that's posted, and then if you've been receiving emails from me, you'll be notified when those are about to be posted. Remind us of your name.
Kiki Stevens again. This isn't a question about the park. It's about the cemetery. It used to be public and it's not any longer. I don't know what the reason for that was. I'm just curious.
A tall fence.
I never knew that it was public, so that's interesting fact, but.
So, do you want this one?
Well, I can say our future plans if that's right. So we're receiving a lot of encouragement from our county council to create public access to Heritage Farm. And the first place that we're going to do that is likely from Hazel Dell Park, where you see the trailhead that's drawn on this map. Eventually, there would be a trail that connects up to the cemetery and then over to an overlook that we would create just east of there so that you can see up to 78th Street. So eventually you would be able to get to that point through an interpretive trail.
I'm Jack Bernhardson. I wasn't going to ask a question, but since you raised that one of the concerns in Heritage Farm is with restricting access to a lot of places that people would rather not have the public in, like the community gardens, and the greenhouse areas, the blueberries and grape, and so forth. Are you intending then to do a lot of fencing there to prevent access, to those areas from the public?
So right now, we're trying to get our sustainability plan approved, and in that plan, it talks about the future public access improvements as one of the next steps into implementation of that plan. And that would be done through a purposeful design process, and that would likely include fencing and maybe other methods of separating the unfettered public use from the controlled public use. What was I gonna say?
We don't want to be prescriptive today and tell you what it's
Yeah.
going to be. We want to have an engaged process as we go
Right.
through that. So we'll have another opportunity when we get to that part of that project to talk about and make sure that we're addressing as many concerns as we have. Duly noting that we have an adopted master plan from 2010 that identified a public trail through there that was updated in 2020. So there is precedent for us to continue to move forward in having some sort of access in a way, but it is going to be a process that we go through.
And we recognize that you and others have a lot of concerns, people who are already using the farm. And so we've already started that conversation with the existing farm users to better understand what those concerns are, so that when we do get into the actual design of those public access improvements, that will, our pockets will be lined with your information as we think about that. So that'll be a separate process. The design of that will be a totally separate process, and it will involve, like Rocky said, public involvement, and so you'll have a chance to participate in that as well.
Just one more question, that is, does the county have the exclusive control over access? I'm thinking about WSU.
So it is county property. And so we have sublessees on there for certain parcels, but the property is controlled and managed by Clark County.
But WSU is a part of all of our conversations about access and even about the sustainability plan. We have representative on our steering committee, and we've been participating in those conversations where we've already started talking about future public access, so that we can hear their concerns as well.
And, now I'm trying to think of some poetry. It's going to be a process where we have a lot of programming and engagement stuff, and we're trying to continue to support and improve that. At the same time, meet the outline that we have given from a land use product, our master plan and guidance through the sustainability plan and council. And it's a beautiful quilt that we're weaving, and it's going to take a lot of people sewing to get it right. And you know what? I'm just going to say today, there's going to be a lot of things that are not going to be 100% what you want or what you want or what I want. And that's just part of the public process. And we look forward to the discussion and the trust that the end product is something we all disagree on equally. I mean, we all agree with as we go forward.
Anybody else? Oh, two more.
Good questions. This is good. You didn't know I get paid by the questions, so man, this is working for me.
Hi, Allie again. In future phases, at least right now, there are a lot of like falcon perches in the western parcel. In future phases, will there be ways to kind of preserve that and like the wildlife in general?
Well, we would definitely be considering that in any design that we have moving forward. I have an avid bird lover, and so I would be eager to make sure that we do our best to preserve that type of access or resource for native wildlife. Oh, and then, sorry, Jesse, I think it is.
Hello, I'm Jesse. You mentioned earlier that the shelters could be reserved. What's the process for that?
Great question. So you're just getting into reservation season right now. See, I got my park voice on all of a sudden. So you can go to our website or call us and identify, we're talking to one of our staff and make a reservation online. Our staff will usually follow up with you and ask you a lot of questions, because it's amazing what people want to do in our shelter sometimes. The rates are very affordable. They've not changed for over a decade and a half.
Evil bias to me.
And we have 29 around the whole system. So if one of the two that are booked at Hazel Dell, there are other options within a short 20 to 40-minute drive. And if you talk to Haley, she can give you all the phone numbers probably.
Also, if you just Google Hazel Dell Community Park, at the very bottom, it has a link for picnic shelters. I get calls all the time. I am the park planner for this project, but I do not schedule shelter reservations.
You'll talk to Tracy. She's the one who will be taking your reservation.
Anybody else? All right.
Josh had a question. Did you, Josh?
I did not.
Good, thank you. Engagement, there we
Anybody
go.
else online? No. I did mention during the next steps that we're going to be going through this public process for the master plan update. And if you want to be informed of when those steps take place, when we're going to go to historic preservation or we're going to go to the Park Advisory Board or the County Council, just check the box on the sign-in sheet that you sign on the way in for stakeholder. And if you put your email address there, then I'll add you to my email list. And I'm not a perfect person, but I do try to give you advance notice of those meetings. And I'll try to do that for you if it's something that you're interested in. And then I just want to say that if you have any questions about the Heritage Farm Sustainability Plan or Minnehaha Neighborhood Park, you can come and see me afterwards, and I'm happy to answer any questions that I can before you leave. If you are interested in the sustainability plan, I just want to let you know there was a meeting scheduled for us next week at council, and that's been pushed to April 17th. So I'll be sending out a notice for that in the next day or two, so to keep you up to date on that. Looks like you might have had something to say.
Oh, I was just gonna provide an Easter egg for Lindy. She's always trying to figure out my birthday. It's getting really close to my birthday now for that next meeting, the sustainability plan. Is that a gift you plan?
That's nice to know. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then I just want to say, I believe there are plenty of snacks left. So if on your way out, if it suits your diet, please just shove those in your pockets on the way out.
Running a sale on decaf coffee. Decaf coffee, anyone? Sink is the new blue.
But we really do appreciate you coming out. We're going to be here until 8 o'clock, so you can feel free to ask us all the questions that you want that you were not comfortable asking us in the group. But thank you for being here.
And those online, we want to thank you as well for participating and continue to remind you guys, this is your only stop in regards to communicating about this process. So again, go online, tell your friends. We have a challenge. We're trying to, it's like when you raise money, we want comments, we're just trying to get 10 more. Can you bring 10 more? So thanks again, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.